Scott Service with us. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, guys.
Long time no see. I mean, it's it's good to catch up again. You look great.
Oh, thanks. Yes, the off season is almost behind us, and getting ready to get to Peoria and get into the baseball swing of things. So we got a lot to look forward to this year.
Well, let's start with the important stuff. Do you want Aaron Rodgers back with the Packers or not? What's the deal?
I don't think, even though I am a shareholder.
Are you?
No, it's the beautiful thing of football, the parity, and you see teams rise and you see some other teams fall for different reasons, but it was not a great year for the Packers.
Well, Dave and I were just talking about, your interactions with the media, which I think it's toughest for a baseball manager. It's 162 times a year.
That's it?
If you have not including playoffs, but if you have a brilliant year and you win 100 games, there are 62 nights where we're all in front of you going, Scott, what happened there in the third inning?
Why did you leave that guy?
Yeah.
Why did you do this?
I mean, that's I think is a really tough thing. We were talking. He was talking about. Can you imagine Bill Belichick doing that?
Oh.
No. I got a version of him and Tony La Russa in St. Louis. It's not a good match. So. How tough is that for you to, even in a great season, you're spending a lot of time talking to people about what didn't go right?
It's part of the job. It's you know what you sign up for, and you guys have a job to do, right? You've got questions that you want to get answered. The fan base is gonna want to know what was going on in those particular points in the game and whatnot. So you become a voice of the organization, face of the organization, whatever you want to call it, and it's my job to stand up and handle that at different points. And the team is looking at it. Oftentimes your team is going to react based on how you react. And I think people know me well enough here around town. I try to stay as even keel as I can. Sometimes it drives people crazy that I'm not screaming and throwing bases and being Lou Piniella out there, but that's not me. And really in today's game, I'm not so sure that works anymore. So it's just part of the job.
Well, and the players will sniff that out, right?
Yes.
If it's fake, if it's phony, it's manufactured. Yeah, I just think Bill Belichick's incredibly immature. It's part of the job. It really is. I'm not asking you to comment, Scott, but yeah, it's part of your job that you have to do. But it seems like from talking to you, you're having a blast with this team. I mean, it seems like we get a chance to. I think our favorites are Logan Gilbert, Cal Raleigh. Who else, Bob, that we've had? I mean, we've had so many good guys. That was the thing that we said last year afterwards, that I don't know that I've been around a collection of such good dudes as you have on that team. You must love
really
it.
have. It's been fun to see the development of our young players and kind of how this whole thing has played out. We took a major step back a few years ago, understanding that we were going to go through a little pain there for a while to hopefully get to the point we're at right now, where we did end the drought. We busted through. We've made it into the playoffs. Now I got to take the next step. But so proud of the group. I love going to work every day with the group that we have, and knowing that we're going to have the core of our group together for quite some time. When they're all young like that, you control them for a while, and hopefully we can control these guys for the majority of their careers as we move forward together. They're really good players. They care. They're focused on getting better, and I think that's what all great athletes do. It doesn't matter. You just focus on getting better.
Now that you've had a chance to step away from the season, have you looked at any particular moments or just the season as a whole and go, unbelievable? I mean, you felt it like everybody else. This team had not been to the postseason in 2 decades, and you were wearing it. The players are wearing it. That sense of relief. I mean, being in that clubhouse after that game was like you won the World Series. So have you had a chance to reflect and say, you know what, that was awesome? Or are you the guy that goes, man, if we would have just done this in this game, we could have gone this much further? How do you view the season?
I think I'm at the point in my career where I'm going to try to smell the roses a little bit. We accomplished something that hadn't been done for a long time, as we know, here in Seattle. It's getting into the playoffs, and it's something that it's on your mind every day when you go to work. I know the players hear about it nonstop, even though the players have only been here for short parts of their careers. So kind of busting through, getting the monkey off the back was huge. Certainly the way we did it with Cal Raleigh hitting that home run doesn't get any better for our fan base. Those are the people, and certainly things have changed for me around Seattle. Everywhere you go, people are going to, I was at the 18-inning game, or I was at the Cal Raleigh game where I hit the home run, and what a season you had. It's brought my family together. I have relationships now with my kids that I didn't have before. So, and that's the thing that baseball really does, which is different than the other sports. It's every day. And people look forward to tuning in the games and listening to the announcers and getting that personal connection with our team. And we certainly have a lot of personality on this team. We have players that are easy to root for. whether it's Julio or the Big Dumper or Logan Gilbert or George Kirby. I go down the list. We've got a lot of young guys that are fun to watch.
I asked Cal if his mom was okay with that nickname, and he said she tweeted it, actually. She's good.
Doesn't she call herself Big Dumper's mom or Mother of Big Dumper or something like that on Twitter?
Mother of Big Dumper. So obviously when Cal hits the walk-off, that's such a huge moment. What were some of the other like poignant moments as the season went on that, kind of that maybe took you one direction or another?
I certainly went in one direction that day we got in that little ruckus over in Anaheim. I was on the bottom of the pile getting my butt beat up by a bunch of young guys, and I'm like, what am I doing here? Yeah. But, things happen throughout the course of the season. You have ups, you have downs. We were certainly had some downs early in the season, and how we're going to get this turned around. And really a credit to our players for us turning it the way we did. We had the great 14-game win streak, which was phenomenal. I've never been a part of anything like that my whole career. A player, executive, whatever, in baseball, and kind of see our team come together there. The momentum that created within the city and our fan base was awesome to see, and we certainly felt it at the ballpark. I wish we could have gone a little bit deeper in the playoffs, but that the come from behind win in Toronto and the playoffs there and what that meant to our team, our franchise, and it was like, we were rolling. We were probably at that point, I felt maybe one of the most dangerous teams in the playoffs, and I know Houston felt that way. And our games came right down to the wire, really one swing of the bat in each game, could have gone either way. But, we learned a lot from it. Our players are going to take a lot from it and gain a lot of confidence from that, having busted through. I've played in the playoffs. I've had big at-bats with the whole crowd on their feet, like the whole 18-inning game was that day. Those are moments that players will never forget. And like I said, hopefully we can build upon it.
Well, the Angels thing, though, I mean, you were the wedge breaker. So, your players must have respected you for that.
I don't know. I was
got some cred for that.
I came out of that pile. I'm down underneath that pile. And I've been in a few piles as a player, which is a little bit different. Now I'm the old guy. And they had Noah Syndergaard at the time was on their team. And I look up, and he's got the long blonde hair. Yeah. I'm like, this Noah Syndergaard's like 6'6", 260 pounds, and this guy's on top of me. I'm like, what am I got to get out of here quickly. I get out of that scrum. I got dirt everywhere. Now I get back up in the clubhouse, and Winker's sitting there, and somebody sends him a pizza, and guys, and it really, when you go through something like that as a team, it really galvanizes the team. Everybody's together. Everybody's like, okay, now we're going to take it to another level, and we really did.
When you go through stretches when you're not playing well, maybe the team's not hitting, everybody's an individual. They're struggling for different reasons. How do you address that when it becomes a collective, when we're just like, we're stranding runners on base left and right, we can't push anybody across? Is it a meeting? Is it individual work with each individual hitter, lightening the mood? How do you approach it when it's a collective and not just one or two guys?
I think what we've done a good job organizationally here is you get back to your foundational pillars, so to speak. Ours is about controlling the strike zone, okay? So get rid of all the noise, okay? You're not hitting with runners in scoring position. We can't get a guy in from third. We can't get a big two-out hit. Are we swinging at the right pitches? Are we controlling the strike zone? And then build from there. Because if you start chasing, the too many different things, you never get anything accomplished. So we always go back to our foundation, and certainly in football. And we talk a lot about football in this town, whatever. If you don't control the line of scrimmage in football, you aren't going to win. End of the day, you're not going to win. Same thing goes on in baseball. Line of scrimmage in baseball is the strike zone. You got to control it.
Hey, not to get too technical, but what do you think the shift is going to do? I'm like, is that going to be something just in general in baseball that is going to be really noticeable early on, or something that as the season goes on, is it going to be more exciting, you think?
I think it is. Yeah. We need more action in our game. There's not enough action. There's the three true outcomes. It's a walk, it's a strikeout, it's a homer. We need to let players who are very athletic, can run, can play defense, can do a lot of things. We got to expose the fan bases to more of those things. That's what fans want to see. They want to see action. The no shift is going to create higher batting average, obviously. It's the lowest batting average probably in, 30, 40 years, what we just went through last year. I think league average is like 242, 243. That's not right. We need guys on base. So the shift will help that. There also is going to be more emphasis put on the running game. You'll see more attempted stolen bases. You're going to see more action on the field, which I think is a good thing.
Hey, as far as the offseason goes, how does that process work in terms of, all right, here are our shortcomings. We didn't do this well. We didn't do this well. Do you and Jerry and ownership get together and say, we need a left fielder, we need a second baseman, and ownership says, here's your budget, make it work? How's that? What's the process like?
Well, there's certainly meetings, and we have a meeting every year. It's usually Jerry, myself, Justin Hollander, John Stanton, Katie Griggs. I mean, there's members of the ownership group that are in those meetings, and you talk about, okay, the season that we're going through, And then how are we going to get better? I think locking in on one particular player, one particular position, you end up being disappointed. But you have overall themes. Hey, we need to get better, in our bullpen, or offensively, we need to be more consistent. Now, there's different ways of doing that. But if you just get locked in on one player, that typically doesn't end well. So, you come out of it, you say, okay, here's where we need to get better. I thought, looking at our team last year, we were driven by starting pitching. Our starting pitching was phenomenal. We don't get enough credit for the job that those guys did. And not just when we got Luis Castillo, the group we had, and, from Robbie to Logan, George, Marco, Flex, what they did. And then we put Luis Castillo on top of that was critical for us. So, looking ahead, we identified, we want to get a little bit better offensively. How do you do that? We may lose a player or two. Who's going to fill those spots? But as far as like the actual names and getting down to the nitty gritty, that's what Jerry and Justin do. They do a great job. And I really, trust and lean on those guys. And I like our team. I know right now, today, we're better on paper than we were last year at the end of the year. And we're focused on getting better, and we are.
I shouldn't worry about Julio because he's such a good kid, but he's only 22. Mm-hmm. I mean, I worry about the fact that everybody's going to want a piece of him, right? I mean, that's the kind of the challenge with a young guy like that. But he seems like he has it kind of figured out for his age.
For his age, yeah. I can't imagine what that's like. But he had a great year last year. But you really saw some changes, really when he came back from the home run derby at the All-Star break. I mean, it was phenomenal. He kind of blasts onto the scene there, the national scene. And then the attention he was getting from media and the interview requests and things like that. And it's something that I talked to him about, and talk to our media groups, we need to be able to say no. Mm-hmm. Julio's not going to be able to do it himself. We need to help him. Yeah. And you know what? He's only going to do X amount of stuff this week, or we're going on a long road trip and you're going into New York or Philadelphia, some of the bigger markets. You know what? It's okay to say no, but don't always put it on the player. Sometimes I need to be the bad guy, or our media department does. So, make sure his focus is in the right spot. And Julio's in a good spot. There's still things Julio can get better at. There's a lot of things. He learned a ton. If you remember the start he got off to last year, if you wipe away that start, what would his season look like? So I know he's anxious, to get into spring training. A little bit different this year. There's the World Baseball Classic. The WBC is going on, so you won't see Julio or Gino Suarez or Teoscar Hernandez in our camp for about a 2 to 3 week period. They're going to be playing in the WBC, so it'll be a little bit different spring training this year.
How tough is it to sort of toe the line with a relationship? I think about Marco, who's been just seems like the ultimate team guy. He's your opening day starter for a few years. Then you fast forward, he's not even active in the postseason. He's sort of relegated to, we're going to need you maybe kind of role. And now we don't know what his future is. Maybe he's with the team. Maybe he gets traded. That's such a dramatic shift from who he was for this organization to where he currently sits. Do you have to, be very delicate in those conversations? How do you approach that with somebody who was at this spot and now he's where he's at now?
Yeah, the one thing that hasn't changed with Marco, and I don't think ever will, Marco's about team. He's always wanted us, the Mariners, to get into the playoffs, to end the drought, to do those type of things, and he played a major role in that. Whether it was the pitching, the number of innings he does, and the quality starts he's put out there for us. But along the way, as we've brought young players up and we've added other pitching to our roster, and the guys that have more upside, that have performed at a higher level, he understands that. He is a pro, but the one thing that has never changed with Marco, it's about winning. He wants to do whatever he can to help the ball club win, and I don't suspect that'll ever change. That's why he's Marco Gonzalez, and he's been so good for us.
The Seahawks have a young corner who I always say doesn't know how good he is. Yeah.
He's pretty good too.
Yeah. He is. Tariq Woolen.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, but you got a few guys like that?
Oh, we do. One guy that comes to mind, Andres Munoz, is a phenomenal relief pitcher. He's got a great arm. It'll go up to 102 miles an hour, and one of the best sliders in the game. And I think he learned a lot as we went through deep, the big games deep in the season and into the playoffs, how good he actually is. And he's a young guy. He's 22 years old as well. So Matt Brash, another guy, got tremendous experience for these guys, pitching in front of a packed house with the game on the line and your season on the line, and seeing these guys strike out some of the best hitters in the game, that should do wonders for their confidence going forward. But yeah, I think anytime young players, they kind of need to prove it on the big stage before they actually believe it. Mm-hmm. Some guys believe it before they ever get to the big stage, but the other players are a little bit more humble, and then they need to see wow, I am getting this done at the highest level. So hopefully all those things serve us well going forward.
Does it feel different for you? Do you sense a difference in anticipation and expectation going into this season? Because the fans have been given a taste. They're reinvested now. This is a sleepy fan base that was sort of apathetic, if we're being honest. And in the last 2 seasons, everybody, it's Mariner fever. And now, hey, got to take the next step, and I'm part of that. You got to take that next step. You got to close that gap between you and the Astros. Do you get a sense of that, or you just kind of tune out everything that's going on and just looking at the product on the field?
Heck yeah, I get a sense of that. That's a great thing. You know what I mean? Oftentimes, there's been a few off seasons I've come in here, and these conversations haven't been as easy.
Yeah.
You know, you're trying to explain how we're going to get this all turned around, and we're not talking about 1 or 2 things. We're talking about 8 or 10 things. So the fact that the expectations are higher is great. That's exactly what we're shooting for. And along the way, you know, you've seen it's been a different offseason for me in Seattle this year. Every time I go somewhere, somebody's going to recognize. I was at the 18-inning game. I think we had 250,000 people at the 18-inning game because everybody I talked to was at that game, you know, and how it's played out. So the expectations are higher. I think it's exciting to have a team that now young fans, young kids can connect to. You know, for years I heard of, you know, and you saw it throughout baseball. Everybody was a Ken Griffey Jr. fan. Mm-hmm. I grew up watching Griffey. I grew up watching Jr. and Jay and Edgar and Randy and Jamie Moyer and Dan Wilson. Now maybe we're shifting to another group or another generation of players here, which is great for young people. That's what's going to drive our game. Yeah. Young players drive the game on the field. Young people, young fans drive the game, you know, other places. So I think it's all good. We've got players that our fan base can connect to. If you can't connect to Julio and the Big Dumper and Kirby and Moon, we've got guys that can do that. They're really good players and they're good people. So I'm excited about the expectations. I do want to take the next step. I want to win the division. That is the next step.
You keep saying you're old, but you're younger than I am. So,
knock it off.
So, like this year was the first time where it was actually Turbo, Robert Turbin. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know you played in the NFL. I'm an old radio guy."
Oh yeah, I've had a few of that thrown my way. Skip, did you actually play? Yeah, I did.
Do they? Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Well, speaking of younger guys, how about tell us what Jarred Kelenic's up to? And he's always a big, topic of conversation.
He's a big topic of conversation on 710. There's not a day I drive down the road if somebody doesn't bring up JK.
JK,
for sure. So, it's been rocky for Jarred at times. I thought he made some really nice strides, and we brought him up right at the end of the season. I thought the quality of his at-bats improved a ton. He got some big hits. He hit some balls hard. Hopefully he builds on that throughout the offseason. I know he has – I don't know if there's anybody that works any harder than Jarred Kelenic, but, you got to work on the right things. And I think that's what we're starting to see a little bit shift there is understanding where his deficiencies lie, whether it's he's got to be able to track and handle more breaking balls, off-speed pitches. So I'm going to focus on that and make sure without losing your strength. I think that's a big part of it too. But he's a young player. I think people lose track of that.
Yeah.
Julio's young, and it happened for Julio much easier than it has for Jarred. But he's a young player. He's got a ton of upside. I still I have my eggs in the Jarred Kelenic basket. I still do believe in him. He's going to be a big part of our future. I'd love to see him come out and tear the cover off the ball in spring training and get off to a great start. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Hey, before we let you go, strip away the humility for just one moment. How cool is it for you to be in the finalists, the 3 finalists 2 years in a row for Manager of the Year? You got completely screwed year before last. You should have. That was the easiest vote in the history of ever, and they screwed it up. But that says a lot to be recognized that way in consecutive years, no less. And again, I'm not saying this because you're here. I've been saying it since that season that was a screwed up vote. But to be in that group, to be acknowledged that way, what is that like for you?
I appreciate you mentioning it. It means a lot, but it's an organizational. I know it is really an organizational type award. You look at all the people that I lean on and I listen to, whether it's coaching staff, it's analysts, it's strategists, the people I've grown very close to, and a lot of these guys are 15, 20 years younger than I am, and they're way smarter as far as looking at the numbers. And it's made me a better manager of not just the in-game situations, but, listening more to our players than I ever have. And I think that's critical to be a good leader. And no matter what you're doing, whether it's professional sports, any business you're running, you really got to be in touch and in tune with your people, your players, your coaches. And I think the one thing that's changed for me a little bit in my job is I probably spend more time now coaching coaches than I actually do coaching players. Because at the end of the day, I'm getting way more out of that. If I know our coaches are driving the right messaging and relating to our players the right way, it is going to pay off for me and the organization big time, and I think that's what we're seeing. We got a great young group of players along with a really good coaching staff to work with it, and like I said, group of analysts and strategists, and everybody listening and respecting each other and what they bring to the decision-making process. And I didn't know I could get to this point, but when I jumped in and understand the value of it and how it plays together and how we all play off each other, it's really gratifying to see it play out the way it did, and that's why I'm so excited that the expectations are as high as they are. I know the group that I work with every day, and we will work our tail off to get above those expectations.
We're fired up, man.
Thanks.
We're so excited for this season, man. It's gonna be a good one. Really appreciate you coming on.
Sounds good, guys. Glad to see
Scott,
you.
we appreciate you, man.
No, it's I appreciate our fan base and you guys as well. I know baseball is a long season. There's going to be ups and downs, and there's a time when you all want me to get fired and get rid of me and Jerry.
No,
that happens, okay?
Not on this show, it hasn't.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
We've been screaming about the injustice of the manager of the year voting for two seasons.
Bob, he had strained relationships over that whole thing.
It's really fun to
I've
see
lost
this.
friends.
Yeah.
It's fun to see this whole thing come together and just what it's meant to the community and, living here all year round and getting out. I tell my wife every time I can't go to Home Depot anymore. Every time I go to Home Depot, that's the place.
Yeah.
Where guys, hey, I need you to get a picture with you. I need to do this, or why did you do this in this game? Why didn't you bring in this guy? It's the beauty of baseball. Everybody's into it.
Hey, we're late. I got to ask you this one thing. When it comes to sabermetrics and then the eye test, how do you balance that out? Because there are those people that are absolute. If it's not on this chart here, if it doesn't say this percentage, it's not true. And some of it's about what are you seeing in a player? I don't care what it says on the sheet. Your experience and your eyes tell you something different often. How do you balance that?
It is a balance. There's no question about it. But I've never met anybody running any business that doesn't look at numbers. You have to. It allows you to make better evidence-based decisions along the way. But we're dealing with humans. And sometimes guys are in a great mindset or their confidence is high. There's other times the confidence is very low. And I'm setting this player up for failure if I put him in this spot, even though the numbers say otherwise. So that's where you have to balance where the player is emotionally as much as anything else.
Scott, we appreciate you, man.
Sounds good, guys.
Thanks so much.
Take
there
care.
you go. Scott Service of your Seattle Mariners. Great to talk to him. Coming up.